Okay, so in this tutorial, we're going to write our first piece of JavaScript code together. So what we're going to do is we're going to create an index.html file. So we'll create a very basic web page with some boilerplate HTML. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to link to an external JavaScript file. When I say an external JavaScript file, we're just going to create a file in Visual Studio Code, our text editor, and then we're just going to link up the HTML page to the JavaScript page. So what I've done is on my desktop, I've created a folder called JS YT for YouTube, and in here what I'm going to do is I'm going to just save an index.html file, so that'll be the web page, and then a script.js file. So I'll explain all of this to you. So inside of our Visual Studio Code, I'm just going to say File, Open Folder, and I just want to select, I'm personally selecting this one here called JSYT. The name isn't really important, but basically it just means now that I've selected it, when I create a file, we're going to be saving it inside of the that folder. So I'm going to say File, Save As, and I'm just going to call this file index.html, and that will change the file extension to be of HTML, okay? So it's where we can write our boilerplate code. Now, I could manually type out, the opening and closing head tag, the title tags, and the body, etc. But Visual Studio Code can give us boilerplate HTML if you just write out HTML:5, okay? And inside of the body tags, the opening and closing body tag, we'll just create a H1, okay? So a heading 1, and we'll just say JavaScript is awesome or is amazing or something like that. Control S to save. Okay, great. And what we can do is, if I just go into this folder and double click on my index.html file, my computer will just take a moment. We have this web page that just says JavaScript is awesome. Okay, great. Now, the next thing I want to do is I want to create a script file. So we're going to call this script.js. So I'm going to say File. You can say New File or New Text File, whatever the case may be. And I'm just going to call it script.js and hit Enter. And whoops, script.js. So the JS extension is important, and create file. And now what we have here is we have in the same folder, I'll just prove this to you, we have an index.html and we have a script.js file, okay? And you can see that there. So JavaScript source file, and this is a Chrome HTML document. So this is the web page where we can put content like an image, etc. And the script file is where we can write JavaScript. Now the next thing we need to do is we need to link up these two files. If I was to start writing JavaScript code in here, nothing is going to happen on our web page because we haven't told this index.html file to look out or listen out for any JavaScript code. So how you do that is we're going to have an opening and closing script tag, and by convention it's best to put them right before the closing body tag, okay? And the reason for that is it allows the web browser to load all of your HTML content first, images, etc., before loading the JavaScript file, because if there's an issue with your JavaScript file and you put the script tags up here before the content, there could be some issues with your web page loading if you have any errors in your JavaScript file. So what we're going to do is we're just going to create an opening and closing script tag. So I'll just say script, if I can spell that correctly, script, yep. So the opening script tag and the closing script tag. And inside of the opening script tag, I'm going to say source, SRC, and the source attribute is basically waiting for us to tell it where to point to, where to listen out for the script file. And because they're in the same folder, I can just type out script.js. So now if I press Control S to save this document, the circle disappears. This HTML file is now hooked up or listening out for code here in the JavaScript file. Now to prove that to you, we're going to do an alert hello world. So if I refresh this document here, nothing happens, okay? And remember that title is called document because of here. We can just say, JS series if you want to change the title there of the document. Hopefully you know that already from basic HTML. So let's write some JavaScript. The first thing we're going to do is just write out alert, that keyword alert, and then parentheses. So to get the parentheses, press Shift and then the number 9. And if it doesn't give you the closing parentheses, just press Shift and 0. And inside of alert, what I want you to do is have quotations. So you can use single quotes or you can use double quotes. The important thing is whatever you start with, you finish with. I will use double quotations. And I just want to say hello world. And then what we can do is just put a semicolon here. Now this entire thing is known as a statement in JavaScript. It is a one-line statement. And what this should do is alert out to the browser, hello world, if we've got this to work. First, we need to save the file. So press Ctrl S to save. The little circle disappears, so we've saved it. If I then come down to the Google Chrome browser, the icon and refresh, we should now see this page says hello world. Okay, awesome. And you don't need to just alert out hello world as well. You could alert out something else like, you know, I love the weekend or something like that. Okay, Control S to save. And if we refresh, we get a new message, I love the weekend. And notice how there's a little circle going on here. I don't know if my video editor will capture it, but this page says I love the weekend. And only when I press OK does the text load there. So that's quite interesting. So this is sort of, you know, how web pages can interact with each other. So listen, we've covered the basics there in this tutorial. So what we did is we just created boilerplate HTML. We then have learned how we can basically create a JavaScript file by saying script. That's a good convention name. .js. The JS extension is important. That way your computer knows and browsers know it is a JavaScript file. And to get it hooked up, you have your opening script tag and your closing script tag. And inside of the opening script tag, you just want to have source is equal to script.js. And the reason it's script.js is the file name is script. That's what I called it. And it has a .js extension for JavaScript. And then to alert something out to the browser, all we have to do is say the keyword alert. And then we have our parentheses, and inside of quotations, we just have a message. We set hello world, and then I love the weekend. Okay, awesome. So in the next tutorial, I'll show you how to use the console, and then we'll start looking at variables and data types in JavaScript. So I'll see you in the next one.